For a century, the rules of fame were written in stone, dictated by powerful Hollywood studios and monolithic media conglomerates. There was a clear playbook: build a powerful mystique, carefully maintain your distance from the public, and above all, project an unwavering image of polished, aspirational, and ultimately unattainable perfection. Today, that entire playbook has been thrown into a bonfire. A new, chaotic, and infinitely more complex set of rules is being written in real time by a new generation of digital stars, not in boardrooms, but on the public battlefield of social media. The traditional barriers to entry have completely vanished, but as a result, the game of fame has become far more treacherous and unpredictable. Tonight, we are going to deconstruct this new celebrity playbook. We will analyze the key stories and scandals that are not just random dramas, but are actually living, breathing examples of the new, unwritten rules for survival and dominance in the modern age of fame. We will explore rule number 1. Alliances are temporary, but content is forever, through the lens of the TANA MONGEAU friend group's public and strategic collapse. We'll examine rule number 2. Your influence is a financial weapon, as demonstrated by a creator's billion-dollar legal battle against a corporate giant. We will analyze rule number 3. Narrative is your most powerful asset in the quiet but vicious Cold War between two of music's biggest titans. And finally, we will look at rule number 4. Bizarre is the new authentic, a strategy for cutting through the noise in a saturated market. This is not just a recap. It's a strategic guide to understanding the ruthless new game of fame. The first and most important rule in the new celebrity playbook is the brutal understanding that personal relationships, particularly public-facing friendships, are no longer just relationships. They are strategic alliances. And like any alliance in business or politics, they are subject to constant evaluation, renegotiation, and, if they are no longer beneficial, ruthless termination. All of this is done in the service of a higher and more powerful master, the relentless demand for new content. There is no better or more current illustration of this rule than the dramatic rise and calculated fall of the TANA Mongeau-Brooke Schofield partnership. Their friendship, which formed the entire basis and commercial appeal of the canceled podcast, was a masterful strategic alliance from its inception. It brilliantly combined TANA's massive, chaos-loving, and highly engaged audience with Brooke's sharp, relatable, and grounding wit, creating a product that was more successful and culturally resonant than either of them could have achieved alone at that time. For several years, the alliance was wildly and mutually beneficial, generating millions of dollars in revenue and immense cultural relevance. However, as Brooke's own brand and independent star power began to grow, the terms of the original alliance no longer made sense for her. The friendship's immense value as content began to be outweighed by its increasing cost to her personal well-being and professional growth. Following this new, unsentimental playbook, the dissolution of the alliance was just as strategic as its formation. The public breakup itself created a massive new wave of content, sparking weeks of intense speculation, analysis, and debate, which in turn generated huge engagement for both parties. The subsequent realignment of the inner circle, with Paige Lorenz and BB forming a new power duo, was a classic post-alliance maneuver designed to consolidate power and publicly signal the beginning of a new era. As we've seen throughout 2025, both TANA and Brooke have since moved on to form new alliances and launch new, successful projects, demonstrating a core understanding of this modern rule. The old playbook valued the illusion of lifelong, unbreakable friendships. The new playbook understands that both the formation and the spectacular public destruction of a friendship are simply different and equally valuable forms of high engagement content. The second, and perhaps most impactful rule of the new playbook is a direct consequence of the creator economy's financial maturation. Your influence is no longer a soft, abstract metric, but a hard, tangible financial asset that can, and absolutely should, be wielded as a weapon in the corporate world. For years, brands held all the power, often treating influencers as disposable and interchangeable marketing tools. The landmark lawsuit between Josh Richards and the soda company Poppi was a powerful and public declaration that this era of exploitation is officially over. The story is a modern corporate fable that has been studied by every talent agency in the business. Josh Richards, a creator with immense influence and business acumen, alleges that he partnered with Poppi in its infancy, lending his credibility, his network, and his audience's trust to help build the company into a billion-dollar giant. The agreement, he claimed, was for equity, a real, tangible stake in the empire he was helping to construct. The alleged betrayal, where the company tried to reclassify him as a simple contractor after its valuation soared into the stratosphere, was a classic old playbook move based on the assumption that the creator wouldn't have the resources or the will to fight back. But Josh responded with a new playbook strategy. He sued, weaponizing not just his legal team, but his massive platform and the threat of a public relations nightmare to enforce the immense value of his contribution. The rumored multi-million-dollar settlement in his favor in mid-2025 was not just a personal victory, it was the official ratification of this new rule for all creators. It legally codified the idea that an influencer's trust with their audience is a tangible asset with a specific and often enormous monetary value. It has forced corporations to the negotiating table and has completely rewritten the standards for creator equity deals across the industry. The new playbook is crystal clear. If a brand wants to benefit from a creator's influence, they must be prepared to offer a real, protected stake in the outcome. If they refuse, a creator now knows they have the power to turn that same influence into a powerful weapon against them in both the court of law and the court of public opinion. In the old playbook, your talent, or your body of work, was your most important asset. In the new playbook, your talent is important, but the narrative you control about yourself is everything. The ability to skillfully shape the public story, to cast yourself as the hero, the innovator, the underdog, or the victim, is now the most powerful and valuable asset a celebrity can possibly possess. The quiet but intense and ongoing conflict between musicians Lana Del Rey and Ethel Cain is a fascinating and deeply modern case study in this new form of narrative warfare. This was never a traditional celebrity feud fought with public insults or paparazzi photos. From the beginning, it has been a cold war fought almost entirely over narrative control. It began with a simple, observable story. A rising artist, Ethel Cain, was perhaps a little too inspired by the aesthetic of an established icon, Lana Del Rey. But Lana, a master of narrative and self-mythology, completely flipped the script with a single, devastating move. With a detailed social media comment, she introduced a new, far more powerful and emotionally resonant narrative. She was not a jealous veteran, but the long-suffering victim of private cruelty and sustained body shaming. This move was a masterstroke according to the new playbook. It immediately seized the moral high ground, reframed the entire conflict, and put her opponent on the defensive. The debate was no longer about artistic influence. It was about character, ethics, and basic human decency. As of September 2025, both artists continue to wage this war through their music, using their art as a primary tool to reinforce their preferred narratives to their loyal fan bases. Lana's recent work is filled with poetic themes of betrayal by a younger, ungrateful generation, while Ethel's music leans heavily into a persona of wounded, stoic integrity. They both instinctively understand that in the modern court of public opinion, the objective facts of a situation are often less important than the story that is told about it. The new rule is brutally clear. He or she who controls the narrative controls the outcome. The old playbook demanded a relentless and exhausting performance of perfection. Celebrities were meant to be aspirational, flawless, and almost otherworldly in their composure. The new playbook has a much stranger, more chaotic, and more complex rule. In an oversaturated attention economy, bizarre and convention-defying behavior is often the most effective way to perform authenticity. When everyone is trying to be relatable, the truly weird and unpredictable is what cuts through the overwhelming noise. Consider the case of Andreina from Love Island. Faced with persistent plastic surgery rumors, the old playbook would dictate a dignified denial from a publicist or a polished, carefully worded magazine interview. Her choice to post a picture of herself as a baby in a diaper as proof that her body was natural was a pure new playbook move. It was deeply strange, completely illogical, and for that reason, it went instantly viral. While it was widely mocked, it also accomplished a key goal that a simple denial never could have. It generated a massive, unforgettable, and international conversation. It was a bizarre and almost surreal performance of realness that was far more memorable than any publicist's carefully crafted statement. Similarly, Bella Thorne's decision to propose to her fiancé a year after he had already proposed to her was a deliberate and public rejection of a deeply ingrained social script. The act itself was a piece of cultural performance art, perfectly designed to ignite a predictable debate and reinforce her established brand as a provocateur who lives by her own rules. It was a bizarre, headline-grabbing gesture that, paradoxically, made her seem more authentic and unpredictable than her more conventional celebrity peers. This new rule is a dangerous one. It creates a powerful incentive structure where the most unhinged and inexplicable behavior is rewarded with the internet's most valuable currency, attention. The new playbook suggests that in the battle for relevance, it's far better to be seen as bizarrely authentic than as perfectly fake. When we examine these new rules together, that alliances are content, influence is a weapon, narrative is power, and bizarre is authentic, a clear and startling picture emerges. The fundamental game of fame has not changed. The ultimate goal is still to capture and hold the public's attention. But the strategies, the ethics, and the very nature of the players have been irrevocably and permanently transformed. The old, centralized gatekeepers of Hollywood have been replaced by a chaotic, decentralized system where the rules are constantly being broken and rewritten by the very people playing the game. This new playbook is faster, more ruthless, and arguably more honest about the deeply transactional nature of modern celebrity. It rewards cold strategy over warm sentiment, and public performance over private authenticity. The critical question that remains is whether this new game is sustainable in the long term. Can creators withstand the immense psychological toll of a world where every friendship is temporary and every private moment is potential content? Or are we simply witnessing the rise of a new breed of celebrity, one perfectly and perhaps frighteningly adapted to this brutal new environment, leaving a trail of broken alliances and viral moments in their wake? The game has changed forever, and we are all watching, trying to figure out the rules before they inevitably change again.